What's up, Grassroots World? Welcome to the Flagrant 2 podcast. I'm your host, Chris Logan, along with my co-host,
Ernie Barber here, Coach Barber.
And I'm really excited to get our first guest in here. And this guest is no stranger to the Oklahoma and national grassroots basketball scene. Former player, recruiting director on the EYBL, recruiting coordinator for the Tulsa Hawks, and current Oklahoma City University assistant coach, the one and only John Roby. What's up, John?
What's up, guys? I appreciate you having me. First off, kudos to you guys. You know, what you're doing in this grassroots world is awesome. Getting kids exposure, that's what it's all about. So thank you for having me on. I'm very thankful and excited to talk to you guys.
It's awesome. I'm pumped, man. I'm excited. I've got my stuff. I'm ready to go. I'm going to ask some questions and kind of pick your brain and get your thoughts, man. No, we've been waiting for this. We've been talking about it for a while. Already released our first episode, and now we're here with you, John, on our second to kind of go through and pick your brain, get some ideas, talk about some critical topics, get some opinions, have a little bit of fun, you know what I mean? So.
Well, I am opinionated, so I'm sure your guests will be happy.
I think we picked the right guest to live up to our name
100%.
of the Flagrant 2 podcast. So I think it's the perfect person to get us going on our first guest. And, for people at home, John, that maybe don't know you or don't know your background, I just kind of want to let you kind of explain, maybe where you played basketball at and kind of how you got into this whole grassroots scene.
Yeah, so I started at Bishop McGinnis High School, played, I guess I started my junior and senior year there, and then was lucky enough to play at Oklahoma City University, where I played there. I played there for 4 years, but I was there 5 years. I redshirted 1 year and played under Coach Case, who's now at Ole Miss, I believe. And then Coach Harper came in after him, who's now at Jacksonville State. And with Coach Harper, we won 2 national championships. So had a great time playing there. And now I'm lucky enough to get to coach there. Thankful to Coach Barikoff, who's the head coach there. So I'm coaching there now at Oklahoma City University, where I played. So it's pretty cool going back.
So what years did you play there, John?
So I was at OCU from 03 to 08, finishing 08.
Cool.
So I'm getting old.
Okay.
Getting close to that 4-0.
One away, buddy.
There you go.
And
the
on some-
eyesight will be coming.
And on some of your Bishop McGinnis teams, were those the teams that had like the Merritt brothers and blew it, or were you after them?
So I got there right after them because I transferred there from Westmore. My parents split up, and so I went to McGinnis to kind of go to somewhere that was more stable in case I kept moving around. So I was there with Joe Ross Merritt, though. We ended up, unfortunately, we moved to 5A my senior year, which was the first time McGinnis had ever been to 5A. Or I think we would have won 4A that year, and we lost in the semis to Ardmore that year in state. So, but yeah, Joe Ross, he played at Sanford. After that, he was really, really good. But I was the year after the dynasty of Blewett and Crawford and J. Robert Merritt. They were unbelievable. I got to watch them when I was younger, and that squad was unbelievable.
Some of the best teams that's really ever played in Oklahoma is that era right there at Bishop McGinnis. Now, after you graduated college, how long was it before you got involved with the AAU basketball scene, and how did that come about?
Yeah, so some of my teammates from OCU, who I'm even still friends with now, Cameron Gray, Spencer Lotus, Trevor Meyer, we would all hoop at the Lighthouse and play in the older guys league, I guess you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
So we played there for about 3 or 4.
Used to be called the Open League before that for us old guys that know and played in it.
Right, so I played that for about 3 or 4 years after, and I ended up tearing my ACL at Crossings. And so once that happened, I realized, I love basketball so much. I want to do something in basketball. What can I do this next? I guess I'll coach. And so Cameron Gray had a guy who had a son that wanted us to coach. And we started coaching a team that had Bijan Cortez, that went to OU, now at Wichita State, Matthew Stone, who's now at North Texas, Tobias Rollins. He's kind of switched around a little. I think he's at a new D2 maybe. Jackson Robinson, he went to Arkansas, BYU now. So, I was lucky enough to have some guys. Jaden Bray, who's playing football at OSU now, wide receiver.
Yep.
So we just had some guys, that were really great kids, really unselfish, played the right way, and that grew my love for coaching because I had such good kids.
And now, was that like an independent team? Was that like a startup team that you guys had started at that point?
Yeah, so we were called USA Elite, and The first year, so I'll give you a funny story just for some throwback. So the first year, you know, we thought we're really good. We're playing in Oklahoma. We're smacking all these teams, and we're like, man, we're awesome. And Jaden Bray's mom actually helped us get into the John Lucas invite-only tournament.
Nice.
And we were like, we're going to go. Can't wait. This is going to be awesome. And we ended up playing the Knight Riders first game. And their starting lineup in 8th grade was like 6'3", 6'5", and we were like, what is this? And we could barely get the ball past half court. Like, we had one offense, one man defense, and they beat us like 70-15.
Yeah.
And so Cam and I were like, we're going to have to change some things. We're going to have to treat this like a college program in order to help these kids out. So that really, I think, you know, that woke us up and made us realize we're going to have to really coach these kids.
What the level is,
For sure, to get them to, like, you know, their capability, to get them, to help them reach their potential. So we ended up, you know, working with those guys and developing. And Ethan Scott's dad, I got to mention Ethan, he's at OBU right now, great kid, one of the best shooters I've ever seen.
Sniper.
For sure. So his dad helped us get this church, and we just practiced all the time and trained all the time. And those kids, you know, ended up the next year, so that was 7th grade, they ended up in 8th grade getting to like number 7 or 8 in the nation. And I think that really helped put those kids on the map. So that's, you know, that grew my love for coaching, because I'm just so competitive that I loved it and loved playing those teams.
Okay, and now you transitioned from that. Is that when you got on with Team Griffin, or is that how that worked?
Yeah, so our team, you know, ended up being basically the best team in the state. And Mr. Tommy Griffin and Mr. Taylor Griffin ended up coming and getting involved. And they wanted to put, you know, that group involved with their other program, their other teams. And I think I knew, you know, Gamblin at MacU and Hankins, who was at OBU, they kind of put a word in for our team. And then we ended up meeting with them and ended up joining Team Griffin.
Okay, and from the time you joined Team Griffin, how far was it until you guys actually reached the Peach Jam Championship? I know you guys did in the 16s, is that correct?
Yeah, so I believe I started there in 2017.
Okay.
And I think in 2019 was the year.
So pretty quickly.
Yes, sir.
Pretty quickly.
You know, and that was a lot of that was all Kellen McCoy with that team that had, you know, KJ Adams, Trey Alexander, Damian Collins, Bijan Jackson, a couple of my kids that I had coached, you know, made it to that team. Yep. And then that team was just unbelievable. And, you know, that run they had, they beat Mocan, they beat Vegas Elite, and then they beat Takeover in the championship. And it was just, you know, like a movie. It was incredible to be a part of. You know, Blake Griffin's there cheering them on. It was something that I'll never take for granted and love the experience.
And go ahead, you heard.
Yeah, no, I was just getting ready to say that's a huge deal. I mean, you said 16U, was it?
It was the 16U because, you know, you have to, in Nike, you get like a Nike friendly kind of where you're 15 and 16, but only a certain amount, around 40, end up having a 17U team. So we had to earn our way back then to get us onto the main, because those are called EYB, and then the 17U is called EYBL.
Yes.
And that ended up, you know, I remember we won the semis, and you know, the head of Nike was like, "What are y'all cheering about? You haven't done nothing yet." But then when we won it, and he was like, "Okay, now you've done something." And so then Griffin was on EYBL from then on.
And is that correct? Like that team, when they moved to 17U, that season got canceled.
COVID.
Was COVID, right?
So it's sad. You know, that team was special, and you know, there were some other teams out there because, you know, a lot of the 16 studs played up. So they would have been coming in and defending their crown against like Jalen Duran and Paulo Banchero. So like Seattle Rotary and Team Final were loaded. There would have been some epic battles on that 17U. It's sad that COVID really hurt the momentum of the Griffin program because it was rolling at that moment. We were loaded at every age.
Yeah, and I mean, some of that success has got to be contributed to you as one of the people that was recruiting a lot of those kids to come there. So, I mean, obviously you had a knack for going out and finding some of these talented kids and helping them come to the program. And
that's a question I've got too, is just kind of give your thoughts around what was your thought process around bringing guys in? How did you have that network? Did it grow? I mean, did you always have it? How did you get into that to where you could find the guys from all over the country? Because I know at one time you guys were pulling in guys from all over that were high level, high 4-star and 5-star players.
So, you know, luckily I started getting invited back then to like CP3 camp and Pangos and all the places where the best guys go. And I would just, you know, make relationships with the kids there. You know, you know, I kind of am like a kid, a big kid. So, you know, it's easy for me to relate to younger dudes. One, because I think I played with college kids and high school kids like that. So I would just make relationships with them, you know, and then eventually I would end up, you know, if they were what we wanted, I would just, hey, come here, you know, I would talk to them and let them know I would pub them to the fullest and try to get them the maximum exposure. And we would just try to bring in as many studs as we could. You know, back then though, you could only bring in 3 out of states. Now that rule has changed.
Yeah.
But there were some ways, like some military ways where you could have a kid that's in the military.
There were some loopholes.
There were some loopholes, and I will exercise all of them to the fullest. So I did my best.
Oh, don't blame me for
You
that.
got to be competitive. If you're not trying, you're not going to be competitive, especially at that level. You've got to be able to. And you just hit on something that I thought was really telling too. Is that I know I do this as well. Not, you know, similarly. And what I miss and what I like the most about, you know, basketball is that you get to. It's the relationships you build with other players. It's like the locker room. You miss the locker room when you're not playing anymore. And obviously when you talked about playing after college and kind of that thought process is once you were injured, you stayed in it. You just went to the coaching level. And then, you know, those relationships, you just kind of kept that process moving. It went from being a player to being a coach, and then how you develop those relationships and that locker room mentality is something. That's the one thing that I think everybody that's played misses the most is just what that locker room's like, or in the bus rides to the games, you know, just being idiots and having a good time. So
yeah, it's special. And I think, you know, once you get one kid a scholarship, it's like the greatest thing ever. So then you're hooked. You want to help as many kids as you can. There's nothing like helping a kid reach his dream. And I think I got almost obsessed with helping kids get offers, talking to coaches, you know, just because you see the happiness in their voice, you see it on their face, and it's just
worth everything.
Yeah, it's priceless. So I think I fell in love with being able to help other people reach their dreams. You know, it wasn't me doing it, you know, they're the ones doing it, but it was great to be able to be a little part of their journey.
Well, absolutely. I mean, even what I do, I feel like, you know, they have to put in the work. But if we can help them, you know, get to a place where maybe they wouldn't have gotten before, it just makes you feel good about yourself every time you help a young man or young lady get to a college, or hey, they get that call for their first offer, and you really just, you know, feel really good about everything. And that's what we really are all really here for. A lot of times negative things come along and people think this, that, and the other, but a lot of us are really simply doing what we think can help these kids, you know, the most. And I think that's just something comes with experience and doing it, you know, the right way.
You just defined the whole part of why we're doing our podcast, John. That was very eloquently said. So, yeah, no, man, that's what gets us up and why we're doing this and why we're having fun doing it. And no, you just defined it. That is the definition of what we're doing. So
we're going through your timeline now. Now, as Team Griffin, you change over to the Tulsa Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know, you know, you can talk whatever you want about how that happened or how you got there, but we're definitely interested in hearing, you know, what that move was and kind of how it went for you.
Yeah, it was a really hard decision to make. Like, you know, with Coach Barakoff, I made the decision with him, and we went back and forth 100 times because the Griffins are amazing. Like, Tommy Griffin might be the best dude I've ever seen. Like, the guy's got sons in the NBA. You know, his life is set. He's won 9 or so state championships. And I'm watching his game at Del City, and after the game, he's picking up the trash under the bench. Or you know, the guy just is selfless. And so, you know, I wanted to be with that family forever. You know, Taylor's great. Blake's great. I felt like, you know, I had reached my potential there. And certain people in that organization, we were kind of starting to clash. So I don't know if I wore out my welcome or what it was. I felt like I needed a change, and I wanted to be happy doing what I was doing. I wasn't happy. I was getting, you know, told I couldn't. If I went on a podcast like this right now, I'd be told 30 minutes after that I said all these things and everybody's mad. It was just
politics.
Yeah. Which comes with the stature, I think, of a Griffin. And, you know, you really got to watch what you say. And I just felt like, and Barakoff, you know, Barakoff and I, we just felt like we weren't being treated properly. I'll just leave it at that. We just thought we were giving everything and getting nothing back in return. And we wanted to move where people appreciated us a little bit and where we could help the kids without politics. That's one thing. Like, they're not wanting one kid to get publicity because they're worried another kid's going to get upset. But
Yeah.
like, this kid earned it. You got to be able to like tout these guys and help these kids in any way you can. And it shouldn't be a worry about if a kid's upset here or a kid in Tulsa is upset here. And I wanted to be able to kind of like get away from that for a little bit and start a new journey. So that's what we did.
I think once when you get, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Chris. I just think once you get to that high level like that, there's so much that plays into, you know, the politics of that, the parents and the players, and I mean the egos and all that. It comes into play. And it's not that we don't have it at our level here, but we certainly, I would say that you were probably under tremendous pressure at that level.
I think it gets magnified when there's so much on the line and people are expecting so much that you're always under a microscope, and it's maybe overbearing sometimes, and maybe that's why we wanted to kind of get out and regroup and change course a little bit.
No, I think you've done well and you've landed on your feet, so I think you're in a good place now. You get to control your own destiny a little bit here. So.
Now,
and I will say one more thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but you want to be around people that want to help you and want you to win and are happy when you win. And I feel like, you know, that year we were really good. We were bad at first, but we ended up making it to the final 8, and I just felt like people weren't even happy within the organization, and you're never going to go anywhere if people aren't on your side.
Yeah.
and how did you guys get addressed, you know, initially from the Tulsa Hawks, or was it the Pro 16 League reached out to you? How did you get with the Tulsa Hawks?
So Matt Reynolds and I have been, you know, friends for a very long time. He helped me when we were, you know, with Griffin, getting to know Kellen. And so Matt reached out and was like, you know, I think I got something special here, and I want Barakoff and you to be a part of it. So maybe take a jump with me, and I'll let you know. He was like, I'm not for sure yet, but if I get things buttoned up, I'll come to you, and I want you guys to be a part. And so when he came to us and, you know, kind of told us the dynamics of everything, we were like, let's do it.
Cool. And then how was that experience over this last summer?
It was great. I mean, the Hawks are great. Evan Drake, the head, is great. Wes is great. Paul was great. I mean, you know, it was more just basketball, and that's kind of what I wanted. You know, it was refreshing. We just got to go hoop, and we got to come back to the Airbnb, and everybody was friends, and we're grilling out together. It was like the family atmosphere that we had at Griffin for a long time, and it was kind of refreshing to go back to where everybody's just happy being around each other.
Got you back to your roots.
Yeah, and then, you know, the league surpassed, I think, everyone's expectations for the first year. You know, so many coaches there, so many high-profile players. Everything's ran, you know, like a Nike, like an Under Armour, like an Adidas. It was, you know, it was a great, especially for the first year, it was amazing. So, yeah, we're really happy with how things turned out.
Okay, and then after a successful season with the Hawks, we're going to transition into your new venture that's coming up. You want to tell us about something that you got coming up pretty soon?
I can't wait. Yes, sir. So Barakoff and I, you know, we got approached and lucky enough by Matt to start our own program. So we're going to be the heads of a new program called Southern Ties. And we'll be on the, you know, the Pro 16, the elite level of the new Puma circuit.
Yeah, Puma backed, right?
Yes, sir. Puma's all in. They've announced it, you know, but things got a little dicey with New Balance. I don't know I mean, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Yeah. But yeah, Puma's all in. So, you know, we're excited to be a part of that. And we've got a great team. Like, I want everything that I felt like I want to try to make this program like that. I want everybody to feel like, you know, they're the head, they have a say. So we've got some great people involved. One dimension that I think is huge for us is we've got Drew Whitmire coming in with his team that was known as the Family, and they were knocking off every team they played. He
will be the 16U coach.
He will be the 16U head coach. Right. So his team's coming over, and you know they were beating AYBL teams, they were beating Under Armour teams, they were beating Adidas. So they made a name for themselves, and we are lucky enough that they want to be with us, because I know a lot of people were trying to get them right now. So we've got him. I know Garrett, Coach White at OCU is going to coach with Barakoff some. John White's going to be with us. And then at 15s, we got another one coming, Chev. He's coming from Lawton. So he's going to be he's going to be our 15U coach. Not many people know that one. We kind of kept that one under the wraps. But that'll be our 15U coach. And, you know, we're excited for those guys to just come in and do their thing. I want them to be able to come to me with anything. I want them to give their opinions, and I want them to just coach and not worry about anything. Just coach, their group and manage their group, and I'll watch from afar and help any way I can. I want it to be a family. So Southern Ties coming your way soon.
Awesome, Southern Ties. So this is the only team in Oklahoma, correct, that will be on the Pro 16 circuit, the new Puma circuit, the main circuit.
Yes, sir. We will be the only team that is on the Pro 16 is what they call it.
Okay.
So that'll be the top 16 or so. I think there might be a little more around the nation. So we'll compete against them, and we'll compete against the NXT teams too. So throughout the season, we'll play Pro and NXT. That's why I think the structure of the league is so great, because everybody's got a chance to go earn it.
Yeah, so what basically, and just to add on to that, you got guys that can go up, play up one, or play down one, depending, right? So obviously Pro 16, they play against each other, and then they'll play the NXT teams, which would be something like our team at the tier 1 level.
Yes.
That's kind of how it is. So if you were at the tier 2 level, you could play the tier 1 level, or you could play down to the 3 level. That's kind of how it's set up today.
And obviously, with it now being Puma backed, and like no slight to New Balance. New Balance has some comfortable shoes and stuff.
Oh, I love the shoes.
I personally, we talked about this in our first podcast. I think Puma has a better place with the younger kids. Like their shoes and some of their players that they have sponsored are just kind of to me. It makes it a little bit bigger. So I know obviously some teams, and all the details haven't been let out yet, and that will be shortly released. Obviously there's going to be some NBA players that have teams as well in this, correct?
Yeah, I think there's already 3 or 4 signed up for sure. I'll let Matt divulge those names. But yeah, I mean, when Jay-Z was your creative director, I think you're going to have some swag at Puma, right? So, I mean, that's what helps attract kids. Kids love that these days. They love the gear, and Puma's got some great gear. New Balance was comfy.
Yeah,
I'll give it that, but it did not have the swag level that the kids want at Puma.
No, we addressed that in the first podcast. I said the same thing. To me, if I'm gonna wear like some shoes, even I would much rather have some of this new Puma stuff. Some of the Mellow Ball stuff is really nice, and just some of
pushing Mellow right now.
It's been announced, so I'll go ahead and let you know. You know, Scoot Henderson signed.
Yes.
You know, with us, so he's got some stuff coming out that's going to be elite.
Possible Rookie of the Year candidate in the NBA for the Portland Trailblazers. So
for sure. So you know, that's just one of the names that you'll be seeing, and Marcus Smart announced too. So since those guys have both announced,
that's fine. Yep. Yeah, definitely, that's going to be big. I mean, that's going to make it, to me, feel like the 4th shoe circuit. You know what I'm saying? That's what people question New Balance, and even I did originally, because for me, I'm always going to question something that's new, because sometimes when you're the old, like you're the 17U, you're taking a chance when you're doing anything new. The younger guys obviously can do it, but I think that it did turn out well, and I think there was plenty of coaches coming to the games, and at the end of the day, that's what it's really about, is getting these guys in front of the coaches and giving them an opportunity to showcase their skills.
I would even go back a couple of years when Matt was, his last year at Prep Hoops, what he learned because of the whole COVID situation, and was able to get coaches into the Prep Hoops circuit to watch because EYBL was canceled. There were some issues there. Yeah, he was able. He gained connections there that kind of propelled him into what is Next Pro now, and then Next Pro, because he knows the players, he's had relationships with people, and Matt's a good business guy. I mean, he understands the business of it. I think that kind of propelled him, and he took the steps he needed to, had the backing he needed to make good decisions, and then get Next Pro launched. And then, at the time, New Balance was available, so he took that. He made the most of it. Obviously, it was through BSN and all that, and everybody had all these complaints about all that or whatever. But, Matt didn't let that deter him. He had it set up. He had the foundation and the process laid out, and he did a great job. He took what was best from Prep Hoops and expanded on it, and then the other leagues as well, because he obviously learned from, Under Armour, EYBL. Obviously, EYBL is the standard, right? I mean, everybody's learning from that, and I think, that's what you bring to what we're doing here, John, is just what you've learned there, and how you get back to what you talked about, getting back to your roots, but also, how it's run, what you do, what makes you successful, all those things. And then all these other big programs coming into it is only going to propel it, right? And now having Puma backing it with all the new NBA players, that's just going to have, like you say, it's going to have the swag, and it's just, the players are going to be excited about it. There's money to support it, and then Matt's running everything from behind the scenes. So it's going to be successful. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think the main thing is, he showed that the players will still be ranked that are good. You'll still get your ranking. you're still going to get your offers, and the coaches are still going to be there, like, and the competition's really, really good.
Yeah.
Those are the main things. And, once you have all that, I mean, the rest is history, because, sometimes it's better to be a big fish in a smaller pond, and you get more notoriety, you get more offers, you get higher rankings. So
Parity is, we talked about it. I mean, it used to be in a college game. Now you're seeing it in the basketball level in high school. And we talked a little bit about it, last episode. And you're absolutely right. This is indicative of that in terms of, what you're seeing, players not being 5th or 6th or 7th on an EYBL roster. They're number 1 or 2 on these, really good teams.
Yep, and now they're blowing up. And I'll say this, the exposure on that circuit is second to none. Like, yeah, maybe the Nike's the standard of how to run the event, but for kids to come get exposure, this was way on it. Nike will pump their top couple. After that, you hardly hear of some of them. You're hearing about kids every weekend on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and we're gonna pub. Yeah, you're gonna get pub. So that's another thing where I think the exposure is second to none here. This might be the standard now of exposure.
No, I think that's a great thing, and I think that's what I do in this market, and I try to do it even in the region, is just bringing these kids to light that maybe weren't before, that can really flat out play, and just the more of that we have, it just makes the product better. When there's a lot of these guys that could play on a high circuit team, but maybe they didn't get the chance for, like you said it early on, the reasons of sometimes those teams have things set so well in advance and they have to push specific kids. This gives politics. This gives a chance for kids to come in and get seen by coaches and get to show off what they really can do. And I was just going to say, that's pretty much grassroots. I kind of wanted to talk with you a little bit about working at OCU and how that's went since you become an assistant coach, and just kind of tell me about the recruiting process. I know you guys have brought in
to the next level.
Yeah, and I know you guys have brought in some absolute studs. Last year, I know you guys brought in a couple kids from Texas that were just flat out good. So if you just want to hit on some of that stuff.
I mean, it all starts with Coach Bearkoff. Like, I'm so thankful for him. He re-energized me. He believed in me. He didn't let maybe some things I say or do or whatever. Like, he just wanted me to win, and he believed in me. So I'm very thankful for him. It all starts with him, and he's a great players coach. I mean, kids love playing for him. And obviously he's been doing it almost 30 years, so he knows what he's doing. It was great to watch him coach, how he interacted with the players, the sets he's calling, the offenses he's run, just his knowledge overall. And so one of the kids from Texas that was at Memorial, his name's Avery Jackson. He was freshman of the year last year. We're expecting big things from him this year. Like, just so smooth. It's crazy watching him. It's just different. He looks different, the way he runs, the way he moves. He's so smooth. And then, we've got a 7-1. Like, we've really tapped into Australia. Coach Bearkoff's contacts on Australia. We now have 4 Australians, I believe, on the team. One of them.
Intercontinental.
Yeah, right.
Internationally, no.
And one of them, we're young. So one of them, Jack, he's about to be a sophomore this year, 7'1", jump hooks. He's really looks, very, very different this year. I'm expecting big things from him this year. I could go down the list of all the guys, but, those are just 2 of them that, Coach Bearkoff's bringing in, because this is only, his 3rd year. So he's really set the culture. The guys, the GPA went from 2-something, and now we're rocking around 3.33, I believe, or 3.4. So, these are not just athletes, these are student athletes. They're going to get their degree, and they're learning from a coach whose values are second to none. Like, he's great on and off the court. So I'm lucky to learn from him. And then Coach White, the assistant, he's been around him for a long time. He's great. And then Coach Eli Burke, the other assistant, he's great too. So, it's just a family. Like, that's all I ever have wanted in this game, in grassroots, in college, is just to feel like your piece of what you do is valuable, feel like you're appreciated. And at OCU, it's family. Like, everything's family. We do everything together. So shout out to him.
And I was just gonna say, anytime we have a college coach on here, I definitely want them to kind of hit for parents and prospects at home, just kind of the levels. Like, because people come in and they think like, well, I'm obviously a D1 player, or I'm a D2, like, and they think that these lower levels, or NAI is a lower level. And I always try to explain to them that you need to go out there and check out these dudes. These dudes are legit. So I just kind of wanted you to hit on kind of like what it takes to, at this level and kind of some of the players that you're bringing in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these guys are elite. They're the best players on their high school teams. And we play D1s. We stay close to D1s. When I played in 07 and 08, Mississippi State, we went there and they were ranked maybe in the top 10 and we lost by like 2. So I mean, the levels, I think the only difference, honestly, the skill levels are all similar. It's a little bit of length at the next level.
Size,
yes.
A little bit of length, a little bit of speed, but you got to be very, very skilled. And the goal for all parents should be, if your son can get a free education, you should be very thankful and not knock any level, because these guys can play at all levels, and maybe if they were a little taller, they'd be D1. So yeah, I mean, I would say come to a game, come see how good these players are and these teams are, and I think you would be surprised. It's definitely not a knock. And
oh yeah, I mean, some of these guys even probably came from D1. I mean, some come down and play at different levels. I mean, you can be an NAIA Division one, national champion, right? You experienced that yourself. So, I mean, the game has. I mean, it's no longer what it used to be in terms of, the parity is there. It doesn't matter if it's NAIA Division 2 or even Division 1. You've got guys at all levels playing at different levels. Maybe they started out at D1, maybe a mid-major, and they end up at D2, right? Maybe they didn't get enough playing time that they wanted, or the fit wasn't right at the D1 level, and they found one at a different level, and it's a good fit. Maybe it's Barakoff coaching or whatever the case may be, and that matters. Coaches that love the players and are all about the players, you want to play for that guy. Right, and I mean, you guys got new swag going on there at OCU. Talk a little bit about your guys'
locker room.
Locker room, yeah, I saw that online, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to have I don't know how many people exactly, but there was one gentleman, Chris, that really stepped up and gave us a great donation, and we were able to get a new locker room that's just very, very impressive, very, very impressive. So our kids are loving it. They're able to plug in their phones when they're at their locker. And that's like the little things that really matter to those guys. So yeah, we're thankful for that. And just to hit back on your point, when I played, and we won the national championship back to back, I think our whole starting 5 was guys from D1.
Yeah.
Cal Poly, Rutgers, Nebraska, Iowa State. Yep. So yeah, I mean the margin is very thin between NAIA, D2, D3,
OC
D1.
was a powerhouse, man. I remember in the 90s and early 2000s, obviously when you were there too. I mean, it was excellent high-level basketball.
And that's what I was going to hit on is especially in state. It's just like you see a lot of these NAIA programs, OCU, Langston right now. Like these transfer rules are really helping these teams to stockpile talent that, like he said, back when he was there, they even had that. But I know now it's even more prevalent to have these guys in, and these programs are really on the come up, and these teams are putting out D1 guys. I mean, I know you mentioned Avery Jackson. Like, to me, that kid is a D1 player.
Don't tell anybody that, though. We need him at OCU for
he needs to finish a couple more years out, but that kid can play, and we knew that in high school. So and that kudos to you guys for getting him.
That's all Barakoff and White, man. They found that guy a diamond in the rough, that's for sure. And that's the other thing I would say is it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like, as long as you're able to go somewhere and play, if you get good enough, they'll find you. So as long as you go somewhere where you can get your education and keep working on your game, that's all that matters. And you can go to the NBA overseas, they'll find you if you get good enough. So definitely not a knock. Go where you're wanted and go where you have a chance to play.
100% agree with that. I do think this too, obviously with the influx of funds into your program, that having a new locker room, the kids like that, man. When you go in there and you can see the facilities and you see the new floor and all the things that you guys are bringing to the table, that helps the kids want to see that, man. And then they get into the locker room and you take them through there and they're like, oh man, this is sweet, right?
Yep.
That's first impression, and that's what they want to see. And then obviously when you get good coaches that love the players and are excited about them, that just kind of puts the cherry on top.
Yeah, it was a blessing and a curse for the floor. We were without a gym because it got flooded on Christmas Eve for about 6 months, but it sure is nice now having a new floor, like you said. It's it's kids like that type of stuff. So, and yeah, just to go back, OCU does have 6 national championships, I believe, in NAIA, which is the most by 3. So it is a powerhouse, and the women have 9. So definitely the home of champions. So come to OCU
Yeah.
if you don't go to that D1 you're talking about.
Yeah, I got a lot of gray hair to show. I remember those days. So
Yeah, kids, remember, it's not about level, it's about fit, and some of these programs can really get you to where your goals are. You just gotta check, you do your homework, visit these schools, reach out, find out how you fit and all those things. And I mean, you're hearing it from a college coach, like your dreams of making it to pro basketball, whether it's NBA, overseas, it's all there if you're in the right place and can push yourself and keep working and just show your talent. So I think that's a great thing, and I think that kudos to you guys for, it's not that you're rebuilding because you guys were a dynasty in that, but you guys in the last few years, it looks like you guys are really on the uptick again.
For sure.
So
we're excited. We're young, but we're excited.
and so like we've hit on pretty much a lot of your background, and then we've always got to go into some of the stuff, the funny stuff that you see on Twitter, always controversial. And the people have asked me to ask this, and they want to know, why do you hate LeBron James so bad?
Okay, I don't know if I hate LeBron James. Maybe it's just because I love Jordan so much. And
thank you. I'm gonna hug him later.
That's a great answer.
Yes, because so many people, want to say that LeBron is better. As even the kids on our team, a lot of them. I think it's like a recency bias or something. But
there you go.
I think that would be the reason, because he's not Jordan, but the guy is great. I'm not an idiot. The guy is really good at what he does. Top 5 or whatever he is, top 10, whatever you want to call him, top 3, top 2. He's great, but it's just he's not Jordan.
No.
And obviously,
And that was a joke, by the way, on the. You want to
we
go
all
to
did
it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, for people at home that don't know, he went viral, John, and he goes viral maybe once a year, to be honest with you. But it's funny, and it was all out of love. It wasn't serious, although some people took it there.
Oh, yeah,
if you want to kind of explain what happened there.
Yeah, so the tweet did get like 1.3 million views, and then I think I deleted it. But if people that don't know, in order to coach in these shoe circuits, to coach on an NCAA live event, you have to, get your USA Gold license.
Absolutely.
And it's very strenuous. There's a lot of things you have to do, a lot of videos you have to watch, a lot of questions you have to answer. And I was just sitting there watching LeBron on the side, and I'm like, there's no way this guy watched these videos like we did. Someone took this test for him, or they just gave him the license. So I tweeted out, hey USA, hey NCAA, there's no way LeBron James is certified gold license. And the rest is history. They took it and ran. And they thought I was hating on the guy. Obviously I'm joking. Obviously the guy's certified to coach AAU if he wants.
Yeah.
But I just know there's no way he took that test.
No, for a brief week or two, he was LeBron James's enemy, and everybody was calling him out. I know he couldn't say anything without somebody hopping under his tweets and saying, "What is your problem with him?" So
yeah, and what's crazy is I believe his point guard in high school, Drew Joyce, maybe is that his name?
I think so.
He was at one of the events on the Pro 16 circuit talking about it. So that was pretty. He was telling Paul Harvey, that's that guy that tweeted about LeBron. So everyone I think saw it.
I was like, I got to bring it up because John's going to go once a year viral, so we got to talk about that moment. I understood what he was saying, and he was just messing around, but people are, they're lovers of, they love LeBron. They love LeBron. So you say anything.
Same with Jordan as well.
You're gonna catch that flack, So
it was pretty funny. I was laying in bed like watching these counts just go up and up and up, and I'm like, Verikov, should I delete this? This is insane. He's like, yeah, but I had to let it keep going over 1 million. So once it got to 1 million, I said, let's get this out of here.
But with that said, there was a lot of people thinking those same things that you just tweeted it out, but a lot of people were thinking it as they were watching it or they were in person at the EYBL watching that, thinking, dang, LeBron is certified, but the man has the credentials without that to probably coach anybody he wants.
For sure.
And I gladly would let him coach my son in a second if he needed to.
Might have a little exposure there too.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It was kind of full circle because we played his son in 7th or 8th grade, and we were both ranked really, really high, and he hit a game winner in like sudden death triple overtime, and that went viral, like 7 million views on YouTube. So
absolutely,
maybe LeBron should be my best friend instead of my enemy. I don't know.
So coming back to grassroots a little bit here, talk to me, or talk to the everyone out there about the things that you like about grassroots. I mean, so you talked a little bit about the family aspect of it, but what do you see in terms of Oklahoma right now that's missing from this area of basketball in terms of grassroots?
The main thing that is missing from Oklahoma is size, and length. That's what you're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like player, what's the
Yeah.
players? Yeah. Size and length is missing. The skill is there. Oklahoma's got great players. I think it's just a numbers game. Oklahoma's not a big state. There's bigger people that live in other cities, bigger cities. So I would say size that Oklahoma's missing. I feel like the coaching is great. It's getting better and better. Guys like you that do such a great job, with your team, really teaching, movement and spacing and fundamentals. So I think the coaching is there. I think that, having many different options of AAU is helping.
Yeah.
So I think the skill is there. I mainly just think Oklahoma misses a lot of size and length.
Yeah, last time on the last podcast, Chris and I talked about, when you have 40 million people live in Texas and 4 million people that live in Oklahoma, obviously you're not going to have the choices, but when you do the math, it's similar in nature. But you're absolutely right. When you see Oklahoma basketball, you'll see the height usually gets to about 6'6", 6'7", and then it just cuts off drastically where you'll get 6'9", 6'10", 6'11" kids in Texas or some of the other areas of the United States where you find good basketball, Chicago, places like that where you got top tier talent. So
yeah, and obviously as those places do well, they're going to get more and more move-ins as well. I mean, as far as like the DFW area, everybody and their mom wants to move in there right now because of what they've seen, the success of the kids, and you had 3 or 4 out of 1 high school class that made it to the pros this last year. So it just builds that, but it goes back to, like we talked about, just the size of the state. It's tough. We don't have that many kids. There's I would say probably, if you're talking about over 6, 7, what is there, maybe 5, 6 kids, maybe?
Maybe.
Not many. We got 1 7-footer maybe in the whole state, so Big E up in Union. Outside of that, there's not too much size.
No, that's absolutely the case. And I think the other part of my question was, what else do you think is missing? Not necessarily the size of the players, but just in general that AAU or grassroots basketball is needing.
Some of it's what you guys are doing right now. It's been guys that have been able to get the exposure out for these kids. I felt like we were missing that for a while, honestly. So what you're doing, I think, is helping in the right direction. People that want to give kids exposure with none of their own personal agenda. I think that was one of the main things that was missing from Oklahoma, that Texas, like you mentioned, did so well. There's so many guys out touting all these kids. Of course they're going to get exposure. And feeding into that, I think we need to keep doing a good job of using Texas as a platform and going over there and playing those teams, because that helps our kids. When our kids go down there and beat those kids or hang with those, they're going to get their notoriety. So that's, with them being so close to us, that's a great thing for our state. Some states don't have that luxury. If they're not close to a big city, where are they going to go play? They got to go all the way across the nation to play. But yeah, I would say guys that want to help these kids get exposure, that don't have a personal agenda, which is why I wanted to be here, because I think you guys are doing an unbelievable job.
No, and I'm going to hit on that, because I know even me and you have had conversations even in the past about, are people linked to other teams? Even was I linked to a certain team? And obviously now you found that out, that I'm not. And I think that's what Oklahoma, to me, has had a problem, and why I stepped in, and Ernie knows this from the last couple of years we've talked about, was I saw a hole or a void and noticed that there is people that give some exposure, but it seems that it's always attached to something.
Biased,
it's always attached to some team or somebody that kind of tells them what they need to do. And I feel like it just needs some more people in this space that, like he said, that have no real agenda. We're just here to just promote the entire state culture and these players without anything, and just trying to promote them. So
I totally agree. And I think the whole reason why I started doing this was because I felt like there was, there's like a boys club kind of a little bit. And I felt like, well, I'm just going to go and start my own thing and do things the right way that I think that they should be done, and just be about the guys. And I think, what I've seen just in the last probably 4 years is more people are starting to do that, which has created this. And obviously Matt's ascension with what he's doing. And then obviously, John, you coming from that level and coming into it certainly gives it credibility, instant credibility, right? So all these things are kind of coming together. It's really about people getting along and all working towards the same goal, and that's just helping the guys get scholarships.
Yeah, and that's how I know you were doing a good job, because everyone thought you were pulling for someone else, because everyone's like, yeah, it's got to be this guy. because look at how you're giving all the love to that team, or that it's got to be this guy. So you obviously were doing a good job because people were guessing who you were, and it was always random different people.
That was genius, by the way. We've had this conversation.
And we'll touch on all that. We'll have episodes for that because let me tell you this, it was very fun and I loved it. And so many college coaches come up to me from parts of the country that are far on the coast, and they're like, "Hey, we were looking in on it, and we thought it was great. By the way, you could have kept it. You could have kept it like that, and we would have loved it still." Because
I think you came out at the right time because it gave you more credibility once people realized you weren't attached to someone.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of came out at the perfect time. But even I was like, "Man, this got to be a Tulsa Hawk guy or something."
I was, for the record, I was called a lot worse than that.
That was before I was Tulsa Hawks, by the way.
Yes.
Now I love them.
No. Great guys. But no, this thing has been great, and I think just...
Can I mention one thing that I kind of need to touch on too?
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing that I forgot to mention because you guys were asking about just the Pro 16, we're teaming up with the Hawks. So the Hawks are going to be our feeder team as well, and they're going to be linked to us if they want to coach with us, whatever they want to do, hang out with us. We love those guys, so they're going to be a part of our program as well, and they'll be on the NXT circuit.
Okay, so they will be on the NXT. I was actually going to ask you about that.
So they'll just be doing their own thing, just like they were just on the NXT circuit again, and and linked to us.
Okay.
So that shows you how much we like those guys.
Like the AAA, man.
I mean, I personally like the sound of this all because this has the makings of a actual, like we talked about a few seconds ago about a fourth circuit, a circuit, actually a shoe circuit out there. And I think that Oklahoma having a team that obviously has guys with experience in the EYBL and also college, coaches at a high level, and Barakoff and you now at OCU, it's like, I think it's the right people to kind of push that program and know what type of kids it's going to take. Because like you've always said, and I've heard you say this a million times, Jimmy's and Joe's a lot of times over X's and O's. So if you got the dudes, coaches are coming. I don't care where you're at. They're coming to find you.
Look at Bill Belichick right now without Brady. I mean, they aren't the same.
Yeah,
you got to have some dudes.
Yeah.
You don't want you need some Brady's, not Mac.
Coaching
Mac
definitely
Joneses.
Coaching definitely can make a difference, but you're limited if the players aren't there. So, you got to have dudes.
You can't teach, shot blocking off the top of the square. I mean, you can't teach
100%.
that. Some guys can do it, some guys can't. I will say this though, the point guard position is high on the list. If you got a great point guard, you're going to be competitive in today's game. So
well, and I think,
sure.
and with all the guards we have, Oklahoma's usually in a good place when it comes to the guard spot. We usually have some guys lined up, and different levels and whatever, but we always have some dudes that can go with that.
And we'll get more and more, I think, with all that we talked about this previously, is we'll get more with all the training that these guys do. And I didn't mention all the trainers out there in Oklahoma City area or Oklahoma, and I'm sure people are, the Nate Logans of the world. There's plenty of guys outside of Trey that do a lot of great mentoring and coaching and teaching to these guys outside of basketball practice or whatever.
Well, and I'll just say, speaking of that, and if those guys want to, sponsor themselves and get some shout outs on here, definitely get in contact with us because we would love to promote,
absolutely,
for the right reasons.
I've coached some point guards that were pretty good lately, Dayton Forsyth,
Oh,
Keontae
yeah.
Tramble. Tramble's my guy. Like that guy, if you're a college coach, go get Keontae Tramble. That dude is a winner and will run your team exactly like you want.
Yep.
Currently at Edmond North, and
Their
I'm
son,
really
there's
interested to
some
see.
studs.
I said that on the last podcast. Keontae can play, man. He's a dog and he's smart. He knows the game. He's a heartbeat of a basketball team. He has it. And if you want to win basketball games, that dude's your guy.
Clyde Davis is going to be a good one too next year at 17s.
I'm
yeah.
big fan of Clyde Davis.
A dog.
Yeah. And I've been seeing him putting in a lot of work, and I mean a lot. So I expect him to have a huge season this year for Deer Creek.
Skills are there. Everything is there with him. I think the thing with him is just working on his body and getting stronger. I think but that comes with age too. So there's things that you can control and you can't control. Things will happen over time. Sometimes you just have to hit the weight room and things will evolve from there.
I mean, he's been great, but I'm expecting a monster season at Deer Creek.
Yeah.
People that don't know him will absolutely know
He's
him.
a blur. He's probably one of the quickest
quick.
guards.
Yeah.
He's lightning quick.
One of the quickest crossovers that you're going to see in
So
all of that.
So who's winning 6A while we're on this subject?
Well, I'm getting ready to ask that
We're about to get
Oh,
there.
okay. All right.
We're about to get there. So we want to do a shot clock. It's a 30-second shot clock. We're going to do it with every guest. It's just going to
Great
be
transition.
just
out there,
rapid fire answers. We want you to get as many of them as you can in the 30 seconds.
Gotcha.
First one we're starting out, they might get a little tougher as time goes on. Absolutely,
Yeah.
you're going to come back
Just don't
through.
get anybody mad at me.
No.
They always are.
That's the last thing we want to do, right?
Okay, let's do that.
All right, man. 30-second shot clock. We got 10 questions here. We're going to go ahead and get started. Best class high school basketball on FY 23-24. What's your choice?
6A.
Who wins that class state title?
It's going through Dylan Warlick. He is a machine. Go ahead.
Best coach in Oklahoma high school basketball currently coaching?
Tulsa Memorial's coach or the guy that just left Kingfisher.
Got it. Best player to ever play Oklahoma high school
And the
basketball?
Griffins. Tommy Griffin. Best player to ever play Oklahoma high school basketball?
Yes.
I'll go Blake.
5 seconds.
Favorite player you've ever coached?
Dayton, Bijan.
Yeah, there's so many to name,
David. Yeah, there's so many.
I'll finish up here. We got a few more. What is your most memorable team you've ever coached?
The first one.
Got it.
Special.
I figured that was the case. What do you like most about coaching at OCU?
The family atmosphere and the kids.
Got it. And then what do you like least about coaching at OCU?
Nothing.
Smart.
Do you prefer watching NCAA basketball or NBA basketball? Pick one.
Regular season NBA, postseason college.
100% agree with that. Who's the greatest pro player of all time? The GOAT.
Jordan.
Thank you.
No.
Just spike the basketball there on that one.
And obviously those were 30-second questions, but we could just elaborate on some other stuff. I want to hear from you on who your picks are for each class.
Okay, so you might have to refresh my memory on some of them, but okay, 6A is easy.
At least we'll go
like
through
I
the major
said, with
classes.
Trammell's addition, losing T.O. hurt, but Warlick is just too good in Oklahoma basketball right now. You're gonna have to knock off the champ now. Montnati and Owasso over there on the other side.
They got some pieces that could.
but they're just young right now, and I just don't see you stopping Warlick.
No, I agree.
5A, whew. Del City lost Brandon. That's going to hurt a lot. Garrison's gone.
There's obviously
Choctaw's
some
going to be really good in 6A too. I think Choctaw's
Choctaw,
going to.
yeah.
Choctaw will be good. There's some new additions in 5A.
You got to give those guys at Choctaw some credit on their coaching too, because that run last year was insane.
They were seconds away from knocking off Edmond North in that game.
They beat Westmore by 1, and that just broke my heart because I
Sorry
thought,
about
man,
that one.
oh,
They were right there against Edmond North too, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
they almost
actually,
knocked
yeah.
them off. They came off the very
semifinal, wasn't it? Was
end.
it
T.O.
semi-quarter?
Barrett had a block off the backboard that
Yeah.
saved that game.
Yep.
A player for Choctaw had a
I remember.
breakaway.
Yep.
He chased it down. I posted the thing and it went.
Yeah.
It
You
went
know,
viral.
T.O. might be the best teammate I've ever coached, by the way. Just saying.
Great
I've
kid.
seen that dude cheer when you're up 30, down 30. Loved coaching that kid. 5A, Carl Albert. I think there's been a lot of rumors too. Did the one player ever?
Carl Shawn is now at
Where's he going?
Huntington Prep
Yeah.
in West Virginia.
I'll give it to Carl Albert. I think
They got great coaching there.
Now-
Coach is really good.
Now
there.
Crossings Christian is now 5A as well.
they're good too.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I'll stick with Quincy. Hugh can go with Carl Albert.
The younger Hopkins can
Can
play.
go.
He can go.
He's probably gonna be on that 16 unit team.
That's why I was leading.
Uh,
I was
yeah.
leading you there.
Yeah, but no, I'll say Carl Albert. Oops, sorry about that. I'll say Carl Albert. I love Quincy. Quincy's a great kid, and Quincy was 2 or 3 points away from being MVP of 5A last year.
Yep.
If they would have beat Del City,
Yep. And they got
They're always good. I mean, they're always.
they're
solid.
loaded. Yeah, they're loaded.
They got a big and Jaden Mott. So
Yes.
they're well.
I tried hard to get that kid.
They're
Come
well
on,
balanced.
Mott. What I got to do to get you? Jeez Louise.
So that's your 5A. Let's get into 4A, where Douglas was your champion last year. Who you got this
I
year?
mean, who's gonna beat him? Kingfisher coach is gone. Give me some
Yeah.
4A teams that are good right now. I need
Weatherford?
some help. The Sage Twins, your boys.
I would say
C-
Weatherford.
CJ Nixon.
Yep.
Hey, look, Weatherford's going to be there. It's going to be Douglas and Weatherford. It's going to come down to that. I think. I think
Yeah.
the only thing with Weatherford is, do they replace a couple? Nate Rehrman, that played for us last year, he was integral as far as getting rebounds, doing that dirty work, a lot of the little things. So I think it's going to be critical there.
And Douglas loses Terry.
Yes.
So Alexander could coach, and he's very competitive. I loved going against him and his son, who are obviously great back in the day. I'll go Weatherford then. Yeah, thanks for giving me that one.
Yeah, I think Weatherford's
yeah.
good. My boys are going to come through, I think.
Weatherford may be the preseason pick when it gets to that point. I mean, we're gonna have a before the season preview coming up. So we don't want to give away too many of our picks, but
CJ can go. Will he play AAU next year is a question. I wonder. He's so good at football. I don't know.
True.
I mean,
I don't know.
There's some tweets on that.
If I'm committed to Georgia or somewhere like Alabama, I might not.
Yeah.
And that's coming. But yes, there was some even tweets today about that, about why some football guys are ranked so low, which is crazy to me because anybody that knows me knows I don't care about that. If you can play, I put you where you belong. And we were talking about Jaden Nickens. Somebody actually tweeted me
I saw that.
saying, why is he number 12 by another service in Oklahoma? And I think that's personally crazy. I've never had him outside the top 3.
You know, I threw that in because at my last team, or 2 teams ago, I was told I'm recruiting too many football players, so that was kind of a jab. You know,
if they're good athletes, who cares?
Yeah.
Do they win or not?
And you guys had a kid that plays at Notre Dame, did you?
Jaden Greathouse.
Yeah.
COVID. That was COVID though.
He could hoop.
Oh,
I watched him a few times.
Plenty of guys
man.
that can play. I mean, if you. What, are you going to penalize a guy because he's great at football and basketball?
That kid was the best perimeter defensive player I've maybe ever seen.
Yep.
He could guard. And yeah, now he's at Notre Dame killing.
And
then Luke Haas, who's at Arkansas, killing.
Killing it. Till he messed up his
Jacoby
collarbone.
Johnson at OU.
I was going to say Jacoby because Jacoby to me, if he, and that goes with a lot of these kids, if they just primarily focused on basketball,
they'd be studs.
They would be even, and they already were high major kids. So just imagine how much better they would be.
All those kids had D1 offers, I think, in basketball.
Yeah. Power 5 already,
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I want to give a real quick shout out too, because you mentioned the Kingfisher Coach Reese. The guy's a genius. The guy, you can say whatever you want. The guy is, in my opinion, he's the top coach, and obviously he moved over.
And the other coach is Allison, right?
Yes.
Memorial.
that's Robert. Yeah, that's Coach Allison at Tulsa Memorial.
And then you got to throw in, I think, the whole Dale City staff because they've got like 25
Coach
state
Hatchett,
championships.
Coach Griffin.
Yeah.
Great
he's got a dynasty there. But
Durham, I played for Durham, so at
Yep. So, and there's definitely some, younger guys coming up. And we're about to get to 3A and Millwood's coach.
Some new guys coming in that are really good.
They have a great staff. Evan Alexander's there.
Sure, we'll have some on at some point in time.
Coach Pratt. I mean, there's some guys really. So as we get to 3A.
One thing, COVID cost me a 15U EYBL championship too, or EYB, because those guys, that team was so loaded until COVID wrecked it. That Jacoby Johnson, Luke Haas, Jaden Greathouse, Parker Fredrickson, who's at Wake Forest, Drew Steffi, who's at Texas Tech, Gus Yalden, who's at Wisconsin, David Leona, who is at
that's right, Steffi was on that squad.
What's the team in Texas Rio Grande?
Went overseas, right?
Went overseas, came back, so he's there, and then Tyler Smith, who's going to be a draft pick, and he went in the pitcher, but that team was going to win 15U. We were going to be unbelievable.
That was a squad. I remember the photo that you put up of that team.
And that was missing Tyler Smith, who
was like,
was 6'10" guard, basically.
Yeah, no one was beating that squad.
Yeah.
You're bringing back some old memories.
Man. Yeah.
For sure. I got reminded of that with football.
So we'll get back right on the track on the high school teams. On the 3A, will Millwood have a three-peat?
Yes.
Come on, yes.
Someone put them in a higher class or something, because they've been dominated since I was a little kid.
Now Victory Christian will give them a run for their money. I'm just going to throw that out there. Victory Christian.
You can throw it out there, Chris, but it ain't happening.
Yeah,
it ain't happening. To throw that out there too.
Why are they 3A? They've been killing everyone since 90.
They compete against 5 and 6A schools.
But with that said, Coach Dorian Williams has them with a national schedule. So they have dynamic prep. Jermaine O'Neal's team coming in to play them. They're playing Chaminade. He's got them playing some national teams that obviously, when it gets to playoff time and in their interconference games or division games, it's going to be, they're not going to get too much, but they'll play a tough schedule.
I just made bulletin material for the other teams you just mentioned.
3A?
Yeah.
3A. They're all gonna hate me. I'm gonna get
throw out Metro Christian too. They're pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, you got some other good teams.
They still got that kid, the big kid, right? That's like 6'8", really.
Yeah, they got that.
What's his name?
Troy Moses, I think.
Yeah.
They got him, and then they got Wyatt Powell, who is an underrated
stud.
Dude. Played for a Missouri team, but was with the Hawks, and the kid is a stud. So they've got some guys.
Yeah, you've got some other teams definitely going to be.
Now we can get to 2A, and
I just said who one of my favorite players of all time was.
Is there any point in saying 2A?
No.
The only thing I'll say is, and then I said this on the last podcast, is that Warlick and Forsyth, I mean, what else can they have? Can they not add to their resume? I mean,
Look,
they're possibly going for their, what is this, their third championship in a row?
Here it is. I think it's more competitive, and sorry for the 2A class I'm about to say, but I think 6A, the difference between some of the teams is much smaller, right? I mean, when you get to Warlick's going to give you his normal production, and you're going to get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got those other players, and then you add Tramble to that. It's a different vibe than what you got with T.O., but it's winning nonetheless, right? And in some cases, he's more of what I would call a true point guard, whereas T.O. could play like multiple. He could just shut down a guy. He could do different things, but
he's a combo for sure.
Yeah, when you get to 2A, I mean, it's like, okay, if the game even gets close, if you're able to get close, and those guys space the floor well, they shoot the ball well, they're unselfish, and then if they need to, they just give it to Dayton and let him go. I mean, he's too explosive, so no guard at 2A is going to guard him. I mean, I watched him play last year in state, and I was just like, this is candy for my baby. It's like, okay, he sits out there and he just toys with guys, and then he goes if he wants to, and if he goes, you got
He'll
nothing.
get you 15 assists, or he'll get you 35,
Whatever you
however
want.
you want it. A couple things. Chambers is a stud big that'll dominate 2A with them, so that helps them.
Trey
But
Chambers.
then they've got the next Forsyth, my guy Denton coming in, who's going to be a huge factor in 2A this year.
Yeah.
And then the guy, the general of all of Oklahoma, Dayton, right?
Yeah.
When we coached him in 16U EYBL, if we had the lead and there was 5 minutes left, we knew the game was over because Dayton is such a maestro. You put the ball in his hands and you start calling things for him. We would save our plays for him until and it's over. The guy makes every right play, every right pass, one hand, left hand, one hand, right hand. It does not matter. The game is over when he is ahead going into the last couple minutes.
That's what you love about point guards, man.
And
They control the game.
One more thing, he was a top 5 point guard in that class. I watched him destroy every EYBL point guard that was ranked. The only one that the first time Dayton gave it to Robert Wright, the second time Robert Wright gave it a little bit to us in Dayton. But he was a top 5 point guard in America. The dude is a stud.
Yep. And I think that just some of that was also that the fact that they also had David Castillo up until this season. He got hurt, so it was having 2 guards, and you got to get them their minutes, and they obviously have to split the ball. So
David's a lot different player than Dayton is as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah, they're different
Dayton
style, but both point guards.
Yeah. But I just think it's just Castillo acted more like a 2 guard at times.
Shooting guard, scoring guard.
Yeah, it was different. Dayton, man, the guy's skill level at the point guard position is just phenomenal. He could see the game the way you need to see it as a coach and at the next level. I mean, he's just going to be.
Oh, you got a good one.
Yep. And I know talking.
And he's tougher and more athletic than everyone thinks. I'll tell you one last story about him. I don't know why I'm raving about this guy since he chose the other team. But anyways, we played, I don't know, I can't remember. I think it was New York Lightning. And Dayton has like 20-something at half. And the whole second half, they double team him. And there's some coach for them. It might have been Mean Streets. It might have been New York Lightning or whatever. They were like, I've never had a double team white guy in my whole life, so that gives you an idea of how good that guy was.
We always talk about his IQ, and I even know talking with the OU staff, even before he committed there, like they were just blown away on his level of basketball IQ and just that. And I always say he's the guy that makes the extra pass that is when it's needed the most in the game. So he could obviously come down, even in 2A, he'd come down there and shoot it over anybody and score and get a bucket. But you'll watch him, and he sees that guy in the corner and just makes the perfect pass every time.
He gets his teammates involved. He's unselfish. He covers.
A winner.
So he'll kick that thing out, and maybe it's Levi Kelly or someone like that, and they hit a 3. Well, now you just got them going, and that just makes you just such a good leader at that spot. It makes your, like you said, make your team just want to play for you and rally behind you.
And his teammates love playing with him. That's the other thing, and I think they trust him completely. And he dishes it. He gives them the basketball, and they score too. Those kids can play ball. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you could take that team and compete with a lot of 6'8".
I mean, you saw it in the Tournament of Champions. They beat everybody, and it was like the first time since what, 79 or something. And I told them I'm sad that they're going to this tournament because they're putting like their 40-something game win streak on the line right off the bat.
Mhm.
They're playing in that tournament on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I wanted to see them going back into the Tournament of Champions on like a 60-game win streak. I thought that would have been cool. But
Yeah.
maybe they can get through it unscathed. We'll see. But
that'll be interesting because they're in the Tournament Champions again, so we'll get to check them out. But you might be right; they might walk out of that. I would never put anything.
they're going like
against those
Chicago
kids.
or something crazy.
Yeah, I would never
It
bet against them as far as how they play as
They're
a
going
team.
to play
So
against some good comp. It'll test it. And here's the deal. It's about preparation for the end of the year, which I think they have it in hand, but hopefully they stay healthy. I think that's the other part that we're not talking about. Everybody's got to stay healthy, and I think that's critical. With the amount of games these guys play nowadays throughout the year, health is critical. Sometimes we overlook that.
and I know
Deacon, they still got to write Deacon too. But go ahead.
Yeah,
so I'm
no,
giving
no,
guys
they-
shout outs.
they've got a couple. They've actually got a
That's what it's
freshman.
about, man.
They got some guys. They got a freshman coming up that's pretty good too. So I guess he hit on who's the best player ever out of Oklahoma. Who is currently to you the best player regardless of class?
Real quick. We don't want to slight the Class A and B teams. Anything on there?
Class A, I would probably just jump on Cato because I think DJ Dill is that dude.
He's the
That
I
dude.
think he's
deal.
that dude.
Yeah.
Hey,
He is the deal.
I mean,
Well, he is, man. We played against him not last year, the year before,
Mhm.
and I mean the dude was smoke.
Yep.
I
he's
mean, the dude can light it up. I was like, man, who's this kid, right?
I gotta give Trey Young some love, by the way, too.
Yeah.
He can go. But go ahead, DJ
Yeah,
Dill's
I
stud.
mean, no, I just wanted to get on the Class A and B. I want to leave them out. So.
yeah, no, in the Class B teams, there's just so many. I would have to do with even more. We'll bring that up when we get to our
I'll let y'all handle that
fair
one.
enough.
'Cause I don't know
Yeah,
if I know.
I figure we keep you with it. But we were talking about
7-on-7 football. What do you got?
some of the best, player. You talked about the best player ever from Oklahoma. I'm just talking about how about maybe your top 5 guys in Oklahoma, regardless of class.
Right now that are
Right.
going to be seniors to
Seniors
Yeah.
to freshmen, whoever you got.
Tough one.
Man. Okay, let me think about this. It's mostly going to be seniors right now. If we're talking about, you're going to
Give the seniors a love.
you got to put right now. Warlick is leading the pack, I think, at the top because he's 2-time champion at the highest classification. Castile's gone, so you can't talk about him. Dayton's right there with Dylan. Let me think about this. You guys put me on the spot.
There's a
Montanati's
I was gonna
got
say
to be
there's a
up there.
sophomore at
Yeah,
Owasso that
Montanati
might be up
is
there.
going to be up there, and he's just going to keep getting better and better because his skill level is so elite. And once he gets really filled into that body, because his dad's big, strong too, he's going to be elite. So that's 3, right?
Yep. Just need 2 more.
My goodness.
That's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I gotta go with
Maybe a kid out of PC West right now, Caden Rayfield.
Caden, and he proved it this summer. He was lighting it up at that size. So yeah, that's a good one. I like my dudes. I want to pump my dudes, so I would throw in
Throw 'em in there.
I'd throw in maybe like Tramble.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
that. Tramble's a winner, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I like Tramble. I don't know who I'm missing. That'd be my top. That's
your
probably my
5.
top 5.
I think that's a
That's
really
a good list. That's a
I'll
good
take
list.
that 5
That's a
right
good
there and
list.
go in and win a lot of basketball games.
That's definitely a good list. I mean, I'm still going to be so intrigued by the fact that, T.O. left North and then just the way Tramble, because they're obviously different players and different style of play.
CJ might be one in there too.
Yeah. I mean, that list could be expanded.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to stop at 5, but I just wanted to get it from you.
There's a lot of skill there.
But I'm definitely interested to see how that North team battles it out and how they kind of
6A is going to be really fun to see because I know that North is with Tramble coming, he's a really good ball player. But I think you've got some teams that I think the other part of it is the come up, right? So you see Choctaw last year making their debut, and you've got some players on that team that playing on Trey Young and some other outfits that are really, really, really good. I've got a couple of the guys played for me last year. I think they're gonna, Steelman's gonna make an impact. He's about 6'8". He's still growing. I think that kid could make an impact defensively in some cases. You've just got some guys on these teams on 6A that there's some wild cards there. So
I definitely think Choctaw is definitely going to be in the mix. And I mean, obviously we'll have our preview special and we'll go through all those, but Choctaw with Jamon Valentine. And see, the thing about Choctaw is they have the athleticism and they have some size to match up against anybody. They lost Cam Hunt, who graduated this last year, who was really a dog for them. I love the way Cam Hunt plays, but
I coached him. I coached both of those guys.
Coached him, so you know all about him. But I believe the Jordan Valentine, like the younger brother of Jamon, this could be his chance. He's tall, man. He's got some size to him. He can play some two-way basketball. I'm really interested to see him. Got some shooters in Camden Hyman. We talked about him last pod. So they got a nice team. I'm definitely not going to count out Choctaw this season for sure in 6A. So
Chris Mason's going to be a beast, by the way. I just thought of him.
Yeah,
he's going to be a beast.
Well, that's why I threw out Victory Christian, because I believe that we know we in 3A Millwood obviously, but Chris presents a mismatch problem for Millwood, and they're I would be interested to see how they handle that. They have so many guards and wings, true. So it's just stylistic.
If he would put his motor on go at all times, he'd be unstoppable. He's very similar to Warlick, except Warlick's motor's always on go.
Absolutely. Dylan plays, we talked about it, 110% every game. Now, what are your thoughts on this grind prep that's come out? What do you think about it? I mean, maybe not you don't know every detail, but just having a prep school maybe in Oklahoma.
I've been saying it's been needed. I don't know much of the details. Those guys called me. I saw they played their first game or something.
They played in the Border League.
Competitive, right?
They played in Border League in Vegas, went 2-2. I mean,
anytime you get some exposure and get some national games, I think it's good. I don't know the exact details, so I don't want to misspeak, but I think it's been needed for a long time to have one here.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. I guess to be seen.
Rather than going to some of the other prep schools, obviously there's some really good prep schools not far from here. Obviously Link, and then you've got Sunrise, and you got some really good ones. So a lot of them are taking all these players from Oklahoma, right? So now there's another choice for them.
As long as they get a good education and they're playing good talent, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I'm interested in guys like Cedric Dixon to see if he can go there now. I know he decommitted from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm just kind of interested to see if he can get himself out there, maybe, because they're going to play a lot on the coasts, and get himself seen maybe by some smaller D1s or something like that, and maybe get himself another chance.
Great kid. I think I've coached every guy we've talked about over here.
That's why we got you on here. I told Ernie, I'm like, we need a guy that literally can hit every angle of Oklahoma.
That's one of the best pure shooters in the state for sure.
Absolutely, and not only Oklahoma. I know you know about a lot of the guys that nationally you've been around and seen these guys. What do you think about when we talk about Cooper Flagg, and have you seen AJ DeBansa yet?
I've only seen him on TV. I haven't seen him in person. But Cooper, when Barikoff and I saw him the first time, is actually played Griffin, and we were like, "Oh my goodness, I've never seen him." I think I tweeted about it that day. He's special. It was literally block, rebound, take it up the floor, 3. Block, rebound, take it up the floor, assist. Block, rebound, take it up 3, alley-oop. It was insane. That dude is different.
I mean, there's some generational guys right now, like him and DeBansa to me might even be more pro ready right now.
That's
I think Flagg does some other things. He does a little bit more. He might be more well-rounded, but DeBansa looks like a kid that you could drop him in the NBA right now, and he could actually get you buckets like right now.
Boozer,
another one. He was another one.
My guy Trey Johnson, pro scorer, 100% pro scorer. He's exactly what a guard looks like in the NBA.
Was the #1 kid in the country for a long time, and still probably could get back up to there. So it'll be interesting. He's at Link Academy this year, I know, and they brought in just a who's who of players. T.O.'s with him. So it'll be definitely interested to see how those guys do. A lot of Oklahoma guys, and we talked about this last time, they're now getting to the point where they leave to go play for these prep schools all across the country, to try to, further themselves or get themselves ready. What are your thoughts on that?
I think a lot of them, stay true to their hometown teams as long as they can, it seems like. And then there's so much pressure that comes into that. And then, they're obviously at a little bit different of a level playing. So I think it's smart for them to branch out. It's always whatever the kid is the happiest, I feel like.
What's best for them.
Yeah, I mean, these are kids. They're trying to make the best decision. People got to remember at the end of the day, parents are trying to make the best decision for their kid. It's not your kid. their kid. So if that's what they think's the best for their kid to get exposure and to be able to focus a little bit more on basketball, you know, I hate that they leave our state, but it's what's best for them, and that's overall what you got to do.
Well, that's where you mentioned earlier with grind prep and all that. Obviously, as things progress there, it gives them another option. I mean, I think it's about options. And to your point, you got to give them the best option. And if that means going to Arizona or going somewhere else to finish out high school to get the best exposure for them to be able to play at the next level, that's what you got to do. And don't think that it isn't difficult for the parents too to say, hey, son, you know, go 5 states away where I can't see you every day, right? I mean, that's got to be tough on everybody. But if it's what's best for the kid, then you know that's
that competition's hard to find in any state. Even though, like we were talking about Trey Johnson leaving to Link, Texas is really good, but still Link's playing the best of the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean,
on ESPN,
they're one of the top tier teams.
And our guy Asa, we got to talk about him out of our league. You know, another guy that did that. Stud. You can be a stud in this league. Don't forget it.
That's
right. I saw Coach Cal was around there watching, and I mean, I know you had a bunch of big name coaches.
There's a bunch of big name coaches there watching.
Yep.
And that always is going to help. And I think putting the Puma name on this new circuit, and like we talked about, having these NBA player back teams should really set this up to be, you know, a
and
possibility.
how many of those NBA players are sponsored by Puma now? You've got these 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that are really big right now.
Yeah.
In the NBA, younger NBA players that's just going to rise when they rise.
Well, and everything follows a trend. So, like he said, Scoot Henderson is in there, Marcus Smart, and then you know, I don't know all the details of every team, but you know, then you see guys like LaMelo Ball, DeAndre Ayton. They're going to be like
Porter Jr.
You know, he's got it. Michael Porter has a team, but these other guys are going to be like, I want to have a team in there. These guys got a team. Everybody's competitive in this. If you played, you know, and then you coached or whatever, you're competitive. I mean, so. That's in our nature.
You need a tax write-off, right? So that kind of cash coming in, man.
They definitely got the funds to handle it, but it's all competitor though. Yeah. Those guys want to have the best team out there every time. So it just helps and it makes it more competitive.
Coming back to what John said earlier, and I think this is something that I think is interesting, is that you know when you got to the EYBL level and you know it's so competitive that you know it starts out as a family atmosphere and then it becomes so competitive that you feel like you're competing internally with your own family. I think that's in basketball in general, it's such a competitive sport because you got 5 kids that can be on the court at one time. It's not football, nothing against football here, but it's not 11 on 11.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah, I mean, you got so many more kids and scholarships offered at the D1 level in football than you do in basketball. So it's so competitive. And then it turns sometimes if you don't have a good culture, and that word's overused way too much, but it begins where people start eating themselves a little bit. And I think, you know, you mentioned coming back to this level again, you're able to kind of reset and kind of start over again. And I think that's huge, man. I mean, I can tell you when I look at you body language wise, you seem loose, you seem, you know, excited. You've got, you know, things to look forward to. So I'm excited, man. I think, you know, just to be able to be in that same circuit, not on the Pro 16, but get to compete against the Pro 16 teams come July.
Yep.
We're bringing it too, so I don't care what anybody says, man. We got some guys that can play, so it's going to be fun, man. And I think that's the one thing that I get from where I'm at is just having a team or two is I get to keep it small. And I don't have some of the things that you've had to experience. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been some crazy. Don't get me wrong in our program, but I mean, you know, there's a lot less of that than I've been able to.
You can just focus on the kids, which is like we're talking about what matters.
Correct.
Competition brings out the best and the worst of us all.
Correct.
And so like I say, if it's scouting, I'm competitive. If it's basketball, if it's coaching, you're competitive. If it's recruit, anything that we do, it's hardwired in our nature for most of us that did anything like this or play sports. That's just the way we are, and sometimes it comes off bad. I think people sometimes get like, "Hey, you're doing," and I'm like, "I'm just competitive, dude."
And the one thing is you know, winning brings the notoriety that you're trying to get to. Like I know you're competitive, and people, you know, it's not all about winning.
Yes,
it's not. But that helps get the
credibility.
Yes,
we talked about it last time we were on.
You want that for the kids.
Yep. Absolutely, because that's what's going to get them to the next level. The other thing I think that's really cool about what we're doing here today is that when we come here, we're not competing with each other. we're not competing on any level. We're having fun. We're talking. We're getting to know each other as people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and then coming together for what we're doing this for, which is the players and the kids.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what this podcast really should be about. Is we can compete between the lines and really get at each other. But doing something like this, it breaks down all the barriers where people can say, man, I don't like that guy. But then when you get here, you're like, I love that dude.
Yep.
Right? I mean, he's just like me. So I think the human side of this, and I think that's the other side that's cool.
I think it's going to open up some opportunities down the line where, maybe we can have a roundtable discussion where we can bring in the head of all the major teams and some of the top independents, have a guy representative from Team Trey Young, a Griffin, you and Coach Barakoff, some guys, and kind of really, beat through the bush and try to get to these things and show from all perspectives and see what it is. I know, obviously, these guys are all recruiting from the same pool a lot of times, so that's what creates a lot of this divisiveness.
I think the other thing is some people do this for their living too, and that creates a whole different side of it.
That's absolutely correct.
Point.
That's absolutely
so you got to put
correct.
food on the table.
That makes it a little bit different.
You got a lot more. Yes, then it becomes this is my life.
Can knock some of your freedom of what you say and all that away.
True.
I do this just for the love of the kids.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Because sometimes we don't look at it from that angle, but
it's absolutely correct. I mean, this is for the love of the game.
Why you're on, John? Come on, man.
I got you.
Stuff.
We definitely loved having you on, and look forward to possibly having you come back when you maybe have your roster set or something like that. You come back with Coach Barakoff. I know we're gonna have him on to talk
some Dodger baseball, baby.
Talk some slam ball, some of that stuff. Some
slam ball, yeah.
Some of his experiences where he started out on the West Coast. But we'd love to have you on again when you know a little bit more about the other teams and maybe some of your players, so we can get on there and give those guys some shine.
Maybe a mid-season sometime in June in between live periods. We can chat it up and have some fun too. Kind of see how the season's going. Get some feedback. I'm sure I'll have a little bit of feedback. I'm sure you'll have some feedback in terms of players, during that period, first half of the year, kind of, hey, the spring kind of how everybody's doing and where you're at. So no, it's good stuff, man. I'm glad you came on.
Yes,
this is next level stuff. It's fun. So that's why we're doing it.
My phone's going off multiple times from coaches right now, so I got to get back on there when I get out of here. and push all of Oklahoma kids, in capital letters.
Yes, sir. With no agenda. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. One last thing. Top 5 sleeper. We talked about Brady Handcuff. Sorry, I had to recruit a little bit.
There you go.
He's gonna be a sleeper.
There you go. Good player. We tried to get him last year.
Definitely an in-coach state that knows that I like him a lot, and he's coming out to see him pretty soon. So
Brady, I'll have you some gear soon.
What? And we'll do the same.
And send some of that gear our way. Never have too many shoes, but we loved having you on, John, and we really appreciate you coming through, man.
Thanks for all you guys do. It's incredible watching outside looking in.
Yep.
Appreciate
Thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
We did it.
Excellent. That was
good
to
go.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was great
stuff, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
That was fun. We talked a long time.